I'm here to share about the amazing story of our home, Singapore. It's a story filled with mythical legends, brave heroes, and timeless lessons. I'm very proud that it's our story and I'm excited to be a part of it. The legends of our land. Ancient civilizations such as India and China are well known for their mythological legends. But did you know that Singapore too has some really cool legends? These legends are a part of our cultural heritage and have been passed down from generation to generation. One of the most famous of these legends is that of Sang Nila Utama, a brave prince from Sumatra who sailed to our island in the 13th century. Imagine being on a ship, feeling the cool sea breeze on your face, and then spotting a very strange animal on the shore. The animal had a red body, a black head, and a white chest. Sang Nila Utama thought this animal was a lion, an animal that was foreign to the island in ancient times. So he named the island Singapura, which comes from the Malay and Sanskrit words Singa, meaning lion, and Pura, meaning city. Singapura, or the Lion City, has kept its name since then. It's amazing to think that what started out It's amazing to think that such an animal, whether real or imagined, played such a crucial role in our identity. But our island's legends don't stop there. There's also the story of Badang, Singapore's very own superhero. Badang wasn't a prince or nobleman. Badang was just a poor fisherman who found himself caught in a series of extraordinary events. Once, when Badang was fishing, he helped a sea spirit, who, in return, granted him magical powers. Badang gained incredible strength. He could lift rocks and throw them far into the sea. One of these rocks is said to have landed in the mouth of the Singapore River, and this is said to be the reason we have the famous landmark, the Singapore Stone. It stands there as a testimony to his incredible strength. Whenever I visit the harbour, I can't help but think of Badang there, showing off his incredible feats and competing in other strength contests with other strong men. It serves as a reminder that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. Then there's the haunting legend of Red Hill. This story is one of the most chilling and tragic in Singapore's lore. It canters around a village that was under constant threat from swordfish attacks. The villagers were helpless until a group of brave boys decided to take matters into their own hands. They built a wall of banana tree trunks to trap the swordfish, and it worked. But this act of bravery led to tragedy. The Sultan, who was jealous of the boys' intelligence and courage, ordered the smartest of the boys be killed. His blood is said to have stained the hill, turning it red, which is why the area is known as Red Hill or Bukit Mera to this day. The hill, now a bustling part of our city, carries the weight of that ancient tale as we pass by. Whenever I pass by that area, I can't help but think of the boy's courage and the unfairness he faced. It serves as a reminder that wisdom and courage are very important qualities. So is the need to protect them from the destructive power of jealousy and envy. One of my favorite legends is that of Radin Mas, a brave princess who sacrificed her life in exchange for her father's safety. Radin Mas was known for her beauty, intelligence, and loyalty. Once, when her father was captured and threatened death by a jealous enemy, Radin Mas didn't hesitate to take action. She offered her own life in exchange for her father's safety. This story serves as a reminder that love and loyalty for those we care about can lead us to make difficult but honorable decisions. In fact, her story is so significant that there's even a primary school named after her. And what's fascinating is that these legends continue to live on in modern Singapore. The adventurous spirit of Sang Nila Utama can be seen in our love for exploration and discovery. The heroic feats of Bara can be seen in our resilience and perseverance while solving problems. The tragic tale of Red Hill serves as a reminder to protect wisdom and courage, while Radin Nasser's sacrifice serves as a reminder of the importance of love and loyalty in our relationships. And that, to me, is what makes our island so special. These stories from the Sejarah Melayu will remain embedded in my heart forever. The making of modern Singapore. It all began in 1890 when Sir Stamford Raffles and Major William Farquhar arrived upon our island. At that time, Singapore was just a small fishing village with a few hundred people. But Raffles saw something very special. He saw the potential for Singapore to become a great trading hub. With its strategic location between India and China, Raffles worked with the Temenggong and Sultan Hussein Shah and made Singapore a British trading post. Ships from all over the world came to stock, trade, and refuel. Ships came from India, China, the Middle East, Europe, and people on board those ships settled down and made Singapore their home. They are the reason Singapore is a multicultural society today. Whenever I visit the harbour, I can't help but think of what it must have been like in the olden days. Markets bustling, traders shouting their prices, and ships lining the harbour. It's amazing to think that what started out as a simple trading post became one of the busiest ports in the world. But not all our history was filled with success and prosperity. One of the darkest chapters in Singapore's history was World War II. In 1942, the Japanese invaded Singapore. I have read about how people lived in constant fear during those tough 3.5 years. About how they had to use banana money, which quickly became worthless. But I have also read about the resilience and perseverance they showed during those tough 3.5 years. They are the foundation upon which our city is built today. Whenever I visit the former Ford factory where the surrender of Singapore to the Japanese took place, or the Changi Chapel Museum where the prisoners of war were held, I can't help but feel the history that happened within those rooms, blending into its present state. The fear, the sadness, the uncertainty. But our struggles didn't end with the war. The road to independence was another challenging journey. In 1945, Singapore did become a British colony again, but our people wanted more control over our own future. In 1963, we joined the Federation of Malaya. We thought that being part of a larger nation would bring us economic and political stability. But this wish didn't come true. There were many economic and political disagreements on how tensions amongst the various racial groups, which in turn led to the racial riots in 1964. When I think of those periods, I feel sad. It is difficult to imagine a time when Singapore was divided, but it also serves as a reminder of the importance of racial harmony and how racial harmony is something that should never ever be taken for granted. Then came the most important day in Singapore's history, August 9, 1965. Singapore became an independent nation. But it wasn't a day of pure joy. I have seen the video of Mr. Lee Kuan Yew announcing our independence. The tears welling up in his eyes, and he said sadly, "For me, it is a moment of anguish. All my life, I have believed in the merger and unity of these two territories. All of a sudden, Singaporeans were on their own, with no natural resources, no army, and no guarantee of survival. It must have been both terrifying and exciting. But Mr. Lee Kuan Yew and his team were determined. Together, they transformed Singapore into a successful and bustling nation. I have read about how other countries don't have proper toilets, clean drinking water, or proper infrastructure. My dad often tells me stories about his father's childhood, how he lived in a compound with no proper toilets, no clean drinking water, no proper infrastructure. But I'm very grateful to Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. His leadership remains an inspiration to me. He possessed clear-sightedness, fearlessness, and determination. Determination to make Singapore a great nation. In his own words, I always strive to be correct, not politically correct. My Singapore today, I'm so proud to call Singapore home. I can take the BMW everywhere. Yes, we are curious. BMW stands for bus, MRT, and walk. In fact, I love it so much that I've even memorized the entire MRT map. Sure, my friends think it's weird, but whenever they need to go somewhere, I can tell them where to get on, where to get off, and where to switch lines. And did you know what's my favorite station? It's Harbourfront. Anyone knows CC29 if you're curious, because it means we are going to Sentosa. Sentosa is an island off the coast of Singapore, and there's a lot to do when you get there. You can get there by taking a cable car, which offers a magnificent view of the city. You can get there by taking the monorail, the Sentosa Expressway, or you can even walk across the Sentosa boardwalk. My favorite part there is the Universal Studios Singapore, where there are thrilling rides, fun shows, and even amazing characters like Minions and Transformers. However, I do not enjoy taking fast rides when my family does. If you're into animals, you might want to visit the SEA Aquarium, which is a giant tube inside of a Titanic tank. And there are sharks, stingrays, and even glowing jellyfish. It's like walking under the sea. If you're into adventure, you might want to visit the Mega Adventure Park, which has zip lines and even a skyline beach, where a cable car takes you up and you can race down the track in a cool cart. Oh, and let's not forget Adventure Cove Water Park, where there are thrilling water rides, a wave pool, and even a lazy river, float around and relaxing. Sentosa is really a great place. The awesome parks of Singapore. Singapore is famous for being a city in a garden, and there are a lot of parks. I am going to tell you about some of my very favorites. Number 1 is the Singapore Botanical Gardens. The Singapore Botanical Gardens is a park that's not only important to Singapore but to the world, because it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And my favorite part there is the National Orchid Gardens, where you can see our national flower, Vanda Miss Joachim, and many other varieties of flowers. It's a feast for the eyes indeed. Oh, and I also like going to the adventure area in the Jacob Ballas Children's Garden, where there are ladders, slides, and a whole lot of other things. And I don't get bored. Number 2 is the East Coast Park. East Coast Park is a beach park, so there's a lot to do when you get there. You can rent a bicycle and cycle down the coast. And did you know there's a path just for rollerblading? Once I rented a bicycle and cycled all the way to the Changi Jurassic Mile with my family and friends. And sometimes when I cycled on the coast, I stopped to feel the sand in between my toes or the sea water massaging my tired foot. Oh, and there are plenty of places to eat too. My favorite is the East Coast Lagoon Food Village, where we almost always end up eating vegetarian satay and ice cream. And if you're into water sports, there's kayaking and even windsurfing. It's so fun to watch people zooming across the water on their boats. Number 3 is the McRitchie Reservoir. McRitchie Reservoir is a quieter park compared to the rest, so you can enjoy nature a little more. You can go on a treetop canopy walk, which is a bridge strung above trees. And when you walk on it, it feels just like you're walking in a forest canopy. Number 4 is Gardens by the Bay. Gardens by the Bay is a rather futuristic park, and there are many super tree groves which light up at night. There are 2 main parts to Gardens by the Bay, the Flower Dome and the Cloud Forest. The Flower Dome has many varieties of flowers, and it's rather cold. It feels like you're in the inside of a giant fridge. Number 2, the Cloud Forest. It has mist everywhere, and it's famous for the world's largest indoor waterfall. And my family and I almost always go there at night, where we can eat ice cream while enjoying the sights. Number 5 is West Coast Park. West Coast Park is a rather closer park to my house, so I enjoy going there. The West Coast Park, my favorite part is the playground there, where there are slides, ladders, rope bridges, swings, and a whole lot of other things. And I can spend hours there without getting bored, no matter how hard I try. And there's almost always a perfect clear grassy spot for me to flop down, have a picnic, or even fly a kite. What makes Singapore's parks so special? You see, Singapore's parks aren't just for playing and having fun, but for learning about the environment. For example, take McRitchie Reservoir, where a park ranger can come and take you on a forest walk, where the park ranger can teach you all about the flora and fauna native to McRitchie Reservoir, and the park ranger can also teach you about identifying various kinds of animal traps and how important it is to conserve and protect the world's forests. Singapore's parks really aren't just for playing, but for learning. Another thing that I love about Singapore is how safe it is. Living in Singapore is really like living in one of the safest places in the world. As an 11-year-old, I am so proud to live in Singapore because I can go anywhere without having to worry. I have seen people leaving their phones or their bags at coffee shop tables and nobody takes them. I myself have left my water bottle at the playground many times, and even though I come back hours later, it's still there, unscathed, waiting for me to claim it and rush back home. This is the effect of the fact that Singapore has very, very strict laws which help keep the country safe. And to enforce these laws, the Singapore government has kept cameras everywhere, in bus stops, even in MRT stations, so the police will know what to do when something goes wrong. Another thing that I love about Singapore is how it's so safe from crime. In many places around the world, there aren't enough police officers and crime is more common. People, I have read, are afraid to go out at night because they're afraid of robbers and other bad people. I have read about how in other countries people carry weapons to protect themselves. That's scary. But I am glad we don't have to worry about that in Singapore. In Singapore, I am also happy that there are very few natural disasters. In other countries, natural disasters are making living unsafe, but not in Singapore. In Singapore, there's only some strong winds or some heavy rain, but that's about it. and it's nothing in comparison to a giant earthquake. Another thing that I love about Singapore is its multiculturalism. Living in Singapore is like having the whole world in one place. In our Fire Excellence alone, there's a good mix of Chinese, Malays, and Indians, isn't there? And we celebrate each other's festivals. I get to eat pineapple tarts during Chinese New Year, ketupat during Hari Raya, and muruku during Deepavali. Another thing that illustrates Singapore's multiculturalism so well is how you can find places of worship everywhere. You can find magnificent mosques such as the Sultan Mosque in Kampong Glam, grand churches such as St. Andrew's Cathedral, and vibrant temples like the Buddha Tooth Relic Temple or the Mariamman Temple in Chinatown. These places are not exclusive to one community but welcome all communities, fostering a sense of diversity and relationships amongst people of different races. My mom says this is what makes us truly Singapore. We are different, but we're one family. And and the food. Don't get me started on the food. Singapore is a food lover's paradise, and as a vegetarian, I am so happy that there is a huge variety of plant-based dishes which are more delicious than anything. My absolute favorites are cheese paratha and vegetarian char kway teow. The cheese paratha with its gooey layers of cheese inside a crispy baked paratha is simply amazing. I always pair it with a cup of hot Milo, which is like a match made in heaven. And then the vegetarian char kway teow, the smoky stir-fried noodles with tofu, eggs, mushrooms, bean sprouts, and chives all tossed together in a deliciously savory sauce. Honestly, I think these two dishes should be made our national dishes because they are what Singapore food is all about. Simple, comforting, and bursting with flavor. Another thing that I really love about Singapore's cuisine is how there's almost always something for me to eat. Be it soupy or spicy or sweet or salty, be it Indian, be it Chinese, be it Malay, be it Western. There's a huge variety of dishes I can have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. For breakfast, for example, I enjoy eating kaya toast. Kaya toast, the sweet coconut jam on top of crispy baked toast is simply amazing. I always pair it with a cup of hot Milo. I also enjoy eating roti prata for breakfast. I enjoy it with plain or with sugar, and my parents like it with curry. And for lunch, there's of course a huge variety of dishes too. My absolute favorite is vegetarian chicken rice. The chicken, though it tastes like the actual chicken meat, is not in fact real chicken meat. It's actually made of tofu, but it tastes so savory and amazing. And the rice is so fragrant and savory, and the chili sauce gives an extra kick. I also enjoy eating vegetarian laksa. For those of you who don't know, laksa is a spicy noodle soup with coconut milk, and the vegetarian version has plenty of vegetables and tofu puffs. It tastes so fragrant and spicy and yummy. I also enjoy having mochi, which is a soft, chewy rice cake covered in sugar and crushed peanuts. And I love it because whenever I take it and I bite and I pull, it stretches. I also like having chundong, which are grass jelly noodles with gula melaka or palm sugar syrup. I love it cold and it's so refreshing and sweet, especially on a hot day. Oh, and there's vegetarian Indian food too, which I also love. I enjoy having dosa, which is a crispy lentil pancake, along with crushed coconut or coconut chutney, and sambar, which is a vegetable gravy. I also enjoy going to hawker centers with my family. There's something about a hawker center that makes it feel like home. Whenever I enter a hawker center, I can use my five senses to detect things. The sound of wok sizzling, the smell of food wafting through the air, and the clatter and the chatter of people sitting down to enjoy their meals. Now, do you know that the uncle at my favorite prata stall knows me so well by now? He starts preparing my order as soon as he sees me. It's like a little ritual. I walk up And before I even say anything, he's already flipping the paratha on the grill. I mean, just how I like it. It's those little moments that make hawker centers feel like home. Just last week, my friend from America visited, and I couldn't wait to take him to try some of our local delicacies. I took him to try durian, which is always a fun experience. For those of you who don't know, durian has a very strong smell, which many people either love or find overwhelming. My friend's face was simply priceless when he first took a bite. He was unsure whether to love it or to hate it. After a few good chews, he said, it's actually not that bad. I guess it's true. Durian is one of those things that you either love or can't stand. But for me, it's a must try. And while not everyone will love durian, it's something that holds a special place in my heart. I also like going to libraries. In many places around the world, libraries can be boring, even dull places. But most certainly not in Singapore. I have a library card, which I use to borrow books almost every week. And my favorite branch is the Jurong Regional Library, where I love the children's section. There is almost always a cozy corner for me to sit down, grab a book, and start reading. I love reading books, whether they are about history, whether they are fiction, or even if they are about science experiments. School here is also a rather enjoyable experience, and it's definitely something different than what my cousins overseas experience. I'm in the Speech and Drama Co-Curricular Activity or CCA, and yes, we study hard, but we also learn many new things. I'll have lots of fun and make lots of friends. But as much fun school is, I'm also preparing for something explosively huge, the Primary School Reading Examination or PSLE. It's something all primary students must go through at the end of the P6 year. And yes, I am a bit nervous about it. And sometimes it feels rather overwhelming. But as my parents and teachers always say, it's not the end all, the be all of who I am or who will become. On the contrary, it's just one step of my journey towards adulthood. I also know that, of course, I'll have to go to secondary school. I'm very excited because it means I'm going on to the next stage of my education. But it also means I'll have to leave my friends and teachers from primary school. It's a bittersweet feeling, but I know that I'll make many new friends in my new school. My dreams for the future. Secondary school is the next big step. I want to get into a school with a very strong science program because I enjoy doing experiments and reading books related to science. And who knows, perhaps I'll get into the science club or the environment and technology club because I'm very interested in how technology can be used to solve many global issues. And I'm also really interested in the future of Singapore in terms of artificial intelligence and robotics. Singapore is also making strides as a smart nation, and I desperately want to contribute to that. Who knows? Perhaps I'll build robots that could assist the elderly or AI assistants that could cook for you. Looking even further ahead, I know that I'll also have to serve National Service or NS. It's something that all Singaporeans and permanent residents must go through, and even though I'm a bit nervous about it, I can't wait until the time comes. My neighbor is currently going through his BMT or basic military training, and he shares funny stories about life in camp. But he also talks seriously about the responsibility of protecting our country. If we don't protect our country, he often says, who will? Yes, even though I'm a bit nervous about it, I can't wait to defend and serve our nation. Why I love Singapore. As I come to the end of my speech, I want to tell you why I love Singapore so much. It's not just because of its amazing shopping malls or because of its delicious food. I love Singapore because it's a place where dreams can come true if you work hard. I was born and bred here, and I had the opportunity to see how much Singapore has grown. My parents, who came here when they were young, Singapore gave them the opportunity for them to build a future they could be proud of. And I know Singapore will give me the same opportunity today. I can't wait to see where my dreams take me right here in the Lion City. One of the last things I love about Singapore is how creative it is in solving problems. One problem that Singapore had in the past was the lack of space. But instead of just settling down and accepting this problem, Singaporeans chose to solve it. One way that Singapore solved this problem was by building tall buildings and skyscrapers so that more people could use the space while covering less ground. Another way that Singapore solved this problem was by making use of its roofs. In some places, you may be able to see gardens or parks on top of roofs. The Singapore government even started something called the Skyrise Greenage Program, which encourages people to plant trees and herbs on rooftops, which not only enhances natural beauty but also purifies the air. Singapore also has another problem. It doesn't have enough rivers or lakes to meet the water needs of its people. But Singapore managed to solve this problem too. One way that Singapore solved this problem was by something called new water. For those of you who don't know, new water is treated wastewater that has been cleansed, purified, filtered, treated, all using very high-tech equipment. And it may sound weird, but it's actually really cool. Did you know new water is so clean, it's even used for industrial purposes? And it's not just limited to new water. The Singapore government even started something called the Sustainable Drainage Program, which prevents flooding and allows cities to absorb more water. And another thing that I love about Singapore is its architecture. In some places, you may be able to see instances of beautiful and creative architecture. One example is the Esplanade, which is also known as the durian because it looks a lot like the spiky fruit. For those of you who don't know, the Esplanade is a place where people go to enjoy music and the arts. It has a concert hall and a theatre. I think it's nice that Singaporeans can enjoy music and the arts while sitting inside such a creatively designed building. And another example of good architecture is the Marina Bay Sands Hotel. The Marina Bay Sands Hotel looks like a ship on top of 3 sturdy towers. And I think it's cool that not only is there a swimming pool on top of the hotel, you can also see the entire city from up there. And inside the hotel itself, there's a casino and a shopping mall, so there's plenty to do when you get there. Another example is the interlaced condominium, which is made of 31 apartment blocks that are twisted and turned, and the end result is something that looks like a giant, colorful puzzle. But most of all, I love Singapore because it's home. Whenever I recite the national pledge or sing the NDP song, "This is home, truly, where I know I must be. This is where I won't be alone, for this is where I know I'm home." I feel a strong sense of pride and joy knowing that Singapore is a place where I can call home. As I finish my speech, let us remember the past that shaped us, the present that we live in, and the future we will continue to build together. Majula Singapura, onward Singapore. Thank you very much.